in that specific day that she died, that I was at the hospital, and I was sitting outside on the park bench, and it was a beautiful Maui day by all accounts, but it was like a devastatingly traumatic event in my life. And it was the most surreal moment in my life till this day, where I felt like I was Neo in the Matrix. I know it sounds crazy, but I felt like I was Neo in the Matrix, and I could see the code, and I was like sifting and sorting through all the things that I was putting off for the past, whatever, 5 years or whatever. And I could see exactly what was important that I need to put over here and what wasn't important and I need to put over there. And it was on that day that I told myself, like, this is real. Like, your time is finite. You are gonna die. So you better start making some real life decisions and stop coasting through life. And on that day, I just made this decision that I was gonna say yes to everything.
Welcome back to another episode of Abundance on Tap, everyone. This is the official podcast of the Appalachian Water Collective. We are fresh off of the 49th birthday party of our company, and we're in the Blue Ridge Mountains today and joined by another Maui, Hawaii member. So we're back to split ends of the world from converging in Vegas for a couple of days, hydrating the desert, so to speak. We have a couple of announcements. There's soon to be a Wilmington Water Collective. So Appalachian Water Collective is our Southeast U.S. regional group, and we have very excited people coming on to do education and hydration on the coast of North Carolina. So stay tuned for updates about the Wilmington Water Collective. And today's guest is Garret Feliciano, also known as the Saltwater CEO, which is the best name ever, also known as G Money. And we have the hydrated Ashley Suzanne DeMarco as well as a co-host. I'm Alex Corey, as always. How you doing today, Ashley?
I'm doing awesome. I just love these conversations. I feel so fired up, especially to talk to this legend. Wow. You've been with me since my beginning, right? I mean, I feel like you have just seen the transformation and I have seen the transformation. So it's such a pleasure to interview you today and just share your story, because I feel like so many people are going to relate to your journey. And thank you so much for being here. G is obviously a saltwater fanatic. He loves the ocean. He loves to surf. He loves to push himself into those waves and, learn how to navigate the ride. So I'm really excited to just dive in. So yeah, we usually just start with asking, where were you? What did your life look like before the water came into
Yeah.
your life?
How was the journey to becoming the Saltwater CEO?
What did life look like? Wow, that's a deep question, and I'm super stoked to be here with you guys. And I've enjoyed watching both of your journey and launching this podcast. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here. So thanks for having me. Before I found this water, I was working in restaurants. I spent over a decade working in higher end restaurants here in Hawaii. I kind of just wanted to live a specific type of lifestyle. And what I found through a lot of trial and error was that restaurant life kind of gave me what I wanted for the time being, because I was one of those people that just didn't understand enough about himself to know what I was good at, what I wanted to do with my life. And so working nights gave me the days to just kind of be me, go to the beach, work out, hang out, just live a very simple life. And I would say around 30, I started to get like frustrated with my lifestyle, not my lifestyle, but with my chosen career path. And I started to get this itch about, like, is this all I'm gonna do for the rest of my life? And I can't just do this. Like, I wasn't put on earth to just serve dinner, like I can do better than this. Like, what can I do? And so I just started to get like that compass, that intuition of like, you can do better than this. And it was like this itch that needed to be scratched. Um, and I just didn't know how to figure it out. I didn't know how to learn about who I was and what I needed to create in my life to figure all these things out. So it was just like I felt stuck and I felt depressed, because what I've learned is that depression and having that kind of anxiety is just it's a sign that it's just a sign that you're ignorant about what to do next. And so you feel these feelings, these deep feelings. And what really launched me into this whole journey and eventually that would lead to me discovering the water was that I actually um, was raised by a single mom and I lost her when I was about 33. And it happened really fast in like a span of 18 months. She got diagnosed. She was cancer free and then it came back and then she passed away in a matter of like 18 months. And it was in that specific day that she died that I was at the hospital and I was sitting outside on the park bench and it was a beautiful Maui day by all accounts, but it was like a devastatingly traumatic event in my life. And it was the most surreal moment in my life till this day where I felt like I was Neo in the Matrix. I know it sounds crazy, but I felt like I was Neo in the Matrix and I could see the code and I was like sifting and sorting through all the things that I was putting off for the past, whatever, 5 years or whatever. And I could see exactly what was important that I need to put over here and what wasn't important and I need to put over there. And it was on that day that I told myself, like, this is real. Like your time is finite. You are gonna die. So you better start making some real life decisions and stop coasting through life. And on that day, I just made this decision that I was gonna say yes to everything. Because up until that point in my life, I played it very safe. I was super conservative. I was scared to get hurt. I was scared of making a mistake. And I think a lot of that just stems from the way I was brought up. I grew up with a single mom. She was super conservative. She was always worried. So I kind of inherently absorbed that kind of energy. And so I just started reading books and I started to pay attention to people's messages that caught my eye. And one of the first people that spoke to me on a deep level was Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss talked about, he wrote this book called The 4 Hour Work Week. It talked about time and time being your most valuable resource. And all of a sudden, all the things that I had been feeling my whole life on a subconscious level, he was articulating and telling me that I wasn't crazy, that I was actually kind of ahead of the curve in the way that I was looking at life, that time is our most finite resource. So I should be more what's the word? Conservative, more, I don't know, what do you call something more frugal about the way I spend my time. And so I was kind of doing that in the way that I was designing my life with the lifestyle of surfing every day and working out and being able to do those things. But there were other levels that I wanted to hit. And that was I wanted to work from anywhere in the world. I wanted to make life-changing income and I wanted to be in charge of my own life. I learned that it wasn't that I was a bad employee. I'm not a good employee. I'm one of those people that just needs to be in charge of my own destiny. I have that calling, I have that energy. And that's why people have a hard time managing me because I think, I ask questions, I have opinions. And as an employee, you don't really get to have an opinion. You're at the mercy of whatever the vision is of the owner and the people that manage that business, which is totally makes sense, right? But I didn't know that. I just thought I was like this weirdo that was like, why do I feel this way? Everyone around me thinks that this is their dream job. And to me, I felt like I was trapped in a hamster wheel and I felt like a slave because I was stuck doing something that, I didn't really feel like had a huge impact. Yeah, I was making cool memories with people, complete strangers, but I wasn't changing lives. I was just giving them a cool memory for like one day. And of course, I've built relationships with people that would come back over and over again over the years, but I wanted to make real impact and I wanted to make real impact in my life. And so that kind of led me to trying things. And the first thing that I tried is I had an Amazon store. I had my own fulfillment by Amazon business, private label, whatever you want to call it. And I had products made in China and I shipped them to the United States. And I did all the things and I launched it. And then I learned that the product I picked a product that had low demand, but less competition. So you can go multiple routes. You can go high competition, more demand. I chose the latter. I chose low competition, but also less demand. And I realized that you would have to market the shit out of this thing. And by that point, I was $20,000 into it. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to keep investing into that business model. And so I got out of that. And that was a really devastating point in my career is because I had to go back to the restaurant life and it was like, oh God, I'm going to be a 55-year-old server working Christmas, working Thanksgiving, not creating memories like all the people that I'll be taking care of, living my best life. And that was just super devastating to me. I really felt like I fell into my victimhood for like a good 6 to 12 months because again, I didn't know what to do next. I was stuck. And so I tried multi-level marketing at the behest of one of my best friends. And I really liked the model. I really liked the team atmosphere of it all. I really liked that aspect of we were together, because when I was doing the Amazon thing, I was by myself. When I did that multi-level marketing business for a short period, I saw the team dynamic and the community that was involved, and how giving the leaders were with their information and their time. And I was like, wow, this is super cool. I can get with this kind of energy because I played sports my whole life, all the way to the collegiate level. And I've just been used to being in a team dynamic. That's just kind of how I grew up. So that felt like home. The product wasn't something that I could see myself getting behind long term. It was, it was a really cheap product in comparison to what I do now and what we do now. But the lessons I learned and the amount of learning I got from that experience was exponential, and it's still paying dividends today. And then as a last ditch effort, I tried changing careers. I got out of the restaurant completely, and I got into frontline sales here on Maui at a hotel. And it was like high pressure sales. Like the person that I was talking to didn't even know that I was trying to sell them. Like they disguised it as a survey. So they would come, they would say no to the initial product, and then the sales guys would bring them to us. And our whole goal was to get them to come back. So we would sell them like a really affordable return package, just so they would come back, stay in our circle of influence, and then next year we can try and sell them again. And it was super high pressure. It was super shady. People were encouraged to lie. And once I found that out, I didn't know that in the beginning, but once I found that out, then my whole energy shifted, and I couldn't sell the product. Like on a subconscious level, I just couldn't. I'm not that guy. I'm a shitty liar. So I couldn't do it. My face was just like, yeah, I was like, I got to get out of here. So right around this time is I had another surreal experience. This is the second surreal experience of my life that kind of changed my life forever. Is I started to get this little voice in my head telling me that I needed to go to Bali while I was doing this job. And I had been before when my mom passed, and it like was an incredible trip, and it just was this incredible memory in my life. But I start to get this little voice in my head. I can't explain it. I don't expect you to truly believe me, but I'm telling you this is real. Something was telling me I need to go to Bali, and that my future would be revealed to me in Bali. And at first I was like, dude, what? You're tripping. You're straight tripping, dude. Like just keep living your life. So I did. I just kept living my life. And then like another month would pass by, and I would still get this intuition. You need to go to Bali. Your future will be revealed to yourself. And I didn't listen to it. I quit the job. And then I was like at home for about a month looking for my next move. And there that voice was again. It was like, you need to go to Bali. Your future will be revealed to you. And it's like, okay, it's been about 3 or 4 months of this thing saying this to me. You're not working. You can go to Bali right now if you want to. Worst case scenario, you get some waves, you create some cool new memories. And why not go to Bali? Why not? So I said, yeah, I booked the flight, took a solo trip to Bali, and I was there for, I think, 3 days. And I posted some stories on my Instagram. And one of my close friends from college, Annie G. Davis, who I hadn't spoken to, I don't think we had spoken in years. We hadn't spoken to you in years. She was living here on Maui, and she just messaged me on my Instagram. It was like, hey, are you in Canggu, which is where I was at the time? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, I've been there. That place is awesome. I was like, cool. This is random that you're texting me. And she was like, I have this thing that I want you to look at, because she was like, I know you were doing the multi-level marketing thing. I'm thinking about doing this thing. And I was like, cool, let me check it out. And so she sent me a video, and I started watching this video. And the more I watched it, the more I was like, holy shit, this is the thing that I've been looking for the past 5 years. Yeah, 4 years, the past 4 years. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And it had checked all the boxes of what I was looking to create in my life, working remotely, being my own boss, making life-changing income, not having to manage inventory because I just had that experience and that contrast, and all these things. And it happened in the perfect sequence that if I had seen this first before doing the Amazon business or doing the multi-level marketing thing, maybe I wouldn't have valued it that much. But because I had done it in the perfect sequence, I really, really valued that. And so that It's how I was introduced to the water. And from there, I just started to consume content and educate myself. I had literally just come from Japan on my way to Bali. I like made a point to stop there for a few days because I just love that country so much and the culture and the food and everything about it. And when I saw that the water was created in Japan, it just gave me this level of confidence that I really didn't vet it. I was like, man, if it's from Japan, I know it's going to be good. And so I just started to educate myself on the water and learn more about it and how they're building and how they're designing their lives with this incredible water. And that's kind of what led to me to this. Obviously, losing my mom to cancer really, and seeing that the water kind of played a role in helping people heal their bodies. That was just like a bonus. I was like, oh man, I can get behind this 100%. So that's how I was introduced to the water.
Before I forget, that was a super powerful story. And this is the second time this week that I've heard your experience of almost a spiritual awakening, seeing the raw code after losing someone extremely close to you. In hindsight, can you think of another way like this? I've had so many podcasts where people always make massive trajectory changes in a state of, you weren't in a state of desperation, but just like a major, like a veil is lifted. And most people do it from a state of desperation where they can see the code and realize that time is finite. Can you think of anything that would give you that same perspective without having to have something so tragic, to say that word, happen to you? Like, is there something people can do to put themselves in that state where they can glimpse the code without having something so major happen?
Yeah, I think that's funny you bring that up because I struggle in the past, I've struggled with this and I've struggled with, making decisions. You'd be incredibly amazed at how much people struggle with making big decisions and finding that gratitude in their life. I think the technique that I've learned that has helped me the most without going through the trauma that you're describing is to future pace yourself. It's called the grandfather framework. And what you do is you envision yourself at, let's say, 85, 90, whatever you consider to be old. I think 85 is like a good number. And you just visualize yourself being 85 and you come back to the present and you look at your life in that moment. And I think if you're happy with where you are in that moment, then you're on the right path. But if you're coming back to your life and you're as an 85-year-old and you're like taking a peek and kind of having that voyeuristic point of view of what's going on in your world and you're not happy with where you're at, I think that's a really good, simple, easy way that anyone can kind of come in at it and they can kind of look at it through like a different lens, essentially, and see the real raw truth, right? Because a lot of us, we're not really honest with where we're at and why we're there in the first place. And without that trauma, it's really hard to get people to make the change. So you kind of got to get creative with this. And I found that if I just do like a 10-minute meditation, I'm 85, I'm coming back to where I am today, and I'm looking at my life. I'm either going to be number one, I'm going to be like proud of myself and like go get them. Gee, I remember this period in your life where you were like, you were young, you were fit, you were strong, you were just figuring out how to do this. And now you're like, and you already know what the future looks like because you're 85 and you're like excited for the person, for the younger you. Whereas if you come back to yourself, let's say as an 85-year-old man, I went back to where I was when I was working at that restaurant and I was struggling to figure out my next move and, seeing that pain and feeling who that person was and understanding where I am now, you can actually that will light a fire under you to make the necessary changes or to go find someone to help you make the necessary changes. And that's something that I didn't understand, the power of being around other people that actually have already solved the problems. Because we can pay for things. We're going to pay for things two ways, right? We're going to pay with our time or we're going to pay with our money. And what a lot of people don't understand, the best way to speed time up to get the result that you want is to pay for other people's time. Because when you buy other people's time, you're also buying all the lessons that they have already learned and the mistakes that they made so that you don't have to wait 5 years, 10 years down the road to have success. You can actually start having success much quicker. So I would just I do the grandfather technique, and I pay to be in the circle of other people that have what I want. So that's what I would recommend.
That was fantastic technique. And Alex Hormozy has a similar thing. He doesn't
Yeah,
just, did you get that from him?
I think I got it from him, but yeah, it's a
Yeah.
version. I got that from him because I struggle with gratitude. I struggle with
Yeah.
that. Like, if you have me like meditate about gratitude, it's like, okay, like I can think about things that make me happy, but like to have like that pure, true gratitude, I found that technique to be the best for me personally.
And whenever I was doing the visualization as you were describing it, the weird part that I hit was, and I resonated a lot with whenever you were saying time is finite. So I have a poster behind me that I haven't completely filled in yet, but it's a Stoic memento mori saying, which is you are mortal, like you're dying, hurry up.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
fill in a box every week. But whenever I was doing the visualization, whenever you're looking at your life big picture and hindsight like that, all of the small stresses you don't see tend to disappear, not even money. Like you're not thinking, if you're looking at just massive life streams and ripple effects and trajectories, you don't care about all of the day-to-day problems. If you're looking at such a big picture, you're like, whatever, figure it out, make it happen. You need to go there. It's so weird how the small excuses that we use in our daily life disappear whenever we're looking back from a point, a
Yes.
very educated and massive point like that.
Death is the greatest motivator. I truly believe that. And I truly believe that pain moves people more than pleasure. And you can harness your pain. If you can learn to harness your pain, it will become your superpower. I truly believe that. A lot of us like to like not talk about pain. A lot of us like to not admit that we use pain as fuel. But I've learned that pain can be used for good if you just know how to harness that energy. And it doesn't have to be something like you don't think about. It can be something you harness.
I love that you just brought that up, Garrett, because I mean, I feel personally from watching you, witnessing you from the beginning to now, there has been a huge motivator to take care of your body more, to take like to be active, to, I mean, will you share about that journey? Like what, because again, like there, were you uncomfortable in your body? Like how did you get to a point where you're like, I'm actually going to commit to this. I'm going to do 75 hard. I'm going to do these action steps every single day, just like Alex was saying. And we just related this morning in our local collective to this business. Like when you strength train and you're working out, like you hit that point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. There's so many points in the business where you feel that way when you get rejected or something happens, right? And you just keep pushing through the workout. You get through the workout, you know it's going to be over. So, can you just share like your physical journey and your health from where you were before to now?
Sure. Yeah. So I've always been in gyms my whole life. I grew up playing football as my main sport, played football till I was in college. And I've always struggled with my weight if I wasn't cognizant about it. Like when I was in fifth grade, I had to lose 20 pounds to play Pop Warner football. And I did it. I wouldn't recommend your kids do that, but I did do it. And then I had to do it again. And when I think it was in eighth grade. So I've always kind of had to battle. Um, for whatever reason, how we were raised in Hawaii, I don't know. I think it's similar to people in the South. We have a very how should I say, carb rich diet. And, a lot of people down here up or in Hawaii, just naturally, most people are obese here. That's just a fact. Like they eat lots of white rice, they eat lots of like bad foods, lots of, processed foods. So I've been battling these old programs, my whole life. My mom used to take me to McDonald's every day when I was a little kid. So that's in there, that's in my body, and I have to constantly fight that old program. But as far as the 75 hard thing, I've always known since I started this business that I have to be I have to walk the talk essentially. Like I'm a billboard and I have to walk the talk. It took way longer than I thought it would to get the mental clarity on this all. But you know, I also lost my auntie a couple years ago, and that was a very traumatic experience for me. And I tend to carry my stress and my anxiety by food. That's what I do. I drink alcohol and I consume I overeat. Those were the two things those were my old programs that I had to constantly fight against and battle against. And I was losing that battle when I lost my auntie to cancer. I also lost my aunt to cancer, by the way. And she was like my second mom. I was raised by two women. She was the other woman. And so I carried a lot of that anxiety, stress, and fear on my body. And when I went to Bali, I lived in Bali for about a year. And maybe, I think it was fall of last year, I moved back to Hawaii. And when I was in Bali, I didn't overcome those old programs. I did a little bit, but I didn't go full send. I tried a couple times to just really get my body dialed, and I would fall back into my old programs. And at the beginning of this year, January 1st, I kind of just made a secret pact with myself that I was going to stop playing small. I was going to stop looking outside of myself. And I was just going to start going for it because I really want this life. I really want to live life big. I really want to travel the world, chase waves, help people, drink this incredible water, show people what real health is and how to be healthy. And, when I was in Bali, I thought if I just surf and I post cool videos, my business will take off. But that's not how this works. The universe knows when you're being authentic and real. And I wasn't truly in alignment when I was doing those things. I was still drinking beer pretty much every day. I was still eating whatever I wanted, croissants and all these things. Like you just get them delivered to your house in Bali. It's super convenient. It's almost worse than here, like seriously. And I lost a little bit of weight in Bali, but I didn't go like full send, like beast mode, like how we're all doing it now. And on January 1st, I made that promise to myself. And so it just kind of launched me into the year properly, and it was in April. One of my good friends, DJ, who also drinks this incredible water, he got really fit doing 75 hard. And it was his second or third time, I think. I had tried twice, I failed. I got COVID, I think, both times in Bali. And so it was April and I could feel myself falling back into my old programs where I was like getting up, I wasn't doing my daily tasks that I needed to do. And we ran a 10K and he smoked me. Like he was running 13-minute miles and I was running like 9-minute miles when we first started. And then by the time race day came, he smoked me. Like he was gone. I didn't even see him. I was like, dude, this dude was running 13-minute miles. And now he's smoking me. And I was like, okay, I'm falling back into my old programs. I need to do 75 hard. And so I started in May and it's just been like this freaking awakening. Like I feel incredibly strong mentally. It's not a weight loss program. It's a mental toughness program. And it's really showing you what you're capable of. The first month really sucked. I was exhausted. People at work would be like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, dude, I'm just tired. Like I'm usually like super outgoing and flamboyant and, funny and trying to have a good time. And I just was like, I just got to get through this. I just got to get through this. And it's just such a microcosm of what we are doing. Like you said, if in order for you to survive in business, you have to be durable. You have to be able to get kicked over and over again and fall down and you have to get back up. And that's essentially what I'm learning how to do is I'm learning how to do the work even when I don't feel like it. I'm doing 2 workouts a day. I'm getting one in the morning. I'm working 8 hours, and then I'm getting another workout before I go to bed. And now it's not that big of a deal. Now it's pretty easy. Now I'm actually going to add weight. I just got a weight vest. I'm going to start using a weight vest. And it's giving me the confidence to want to do a podcast, to show my face. It's giving me the confidence to have an opinion in the online space because I used to never want to talk to the camera just because I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't want to like see myself on camera. So I would just avoid it as much as possible. Not because I'm not confident in my message. I just didn't like seeing the way I looked. I was just like, I don't want to look at you. You're like, huh. And now I know it's my duty to document this because there's somebody just like me out there that's going through the same thing. So it's my duty to share this. It's my duty to talk about this because I can help someone that I don't even know.
Amazing how much resistance training and working out improves your self-image, isn't it?
Oh my God, dude. Yes. That's another thing. Thank you for reminding me. Resistance training is everything. And I also learned that, so in the past, I always used to have like these finite goals, like in 90 days, I'll look like this. And then I wouldn't hit the goal and I'd be depressed. And now what I've learned is it's not the end, it's not a finite game, it's an infinite game. You don't win at health. You just have to like do it for the rest of your life. And I think that comes with old age. I'm getting wiser, but like stop putting so much pressure on ourselves to hit certain things in specific periods of time. I used to do that all the time, and then I would never hit it, and then it would discourage me to keep working out because I don't want to disappoint myself on a subconscious level. And it's the same way in business. Like I used to put so much pressure that I'm going to hit this rank by this date, and then I wouldn't do it, and I'd be depressed. And it's like as I've gotten around higher and higher players in the business space, they all say the same thing. It's like they play the long game. They play in decades, right? I just posted that today. We play in decades because once you start playing in decades, then people underestimate what they can do in a decade and they overestimate what they can do in a year, right?
Mhm.
And once you do that, you still can have fast success. Like I failed my first attempt at 75 hard because I forgot to take a photo. Technically, I failed. So I'm starting all over. I'm on day 18, I think. But if you look at me from January 1st to what is today, July 26th, 27th, I'm down 30 pounds. So did I fail? No. I'm actually on track. I'm kicking ass. 30 pounds for the year. If I keep going, I'm going to lose 40, 50 pounds. Like, not that weight matters. I don't care about weight. I just care about how I feel and how my clothes fit and all those things. But yeah, like you fail forward. That's the point. You play the game. You're gonna fail. You're gonna have to get back up. And if you just don't put any more constraints and pressures on yourself, then you're gonna stay in the game forever. And that's the point. You want to stay in the game forever.
Yeah, consistency is the screaming word. Sustainability and consistency when it comes to any of the games that are worth playing. Like you mentioned, so health, business, marriage. I think this was another Hormozi clip. It's like you don't win at any of these
Right.
games. The name of the game is to keep playing the game, and that's winning. So as long as you keep doing it, then you're winning because they're infinite games and no one wins. But the only time you can lose is if you just give up and stop playing.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that when you share about all these old habits and how common it is in the culture, right? Like think about so many cultures that maybe aren't specifically the standard American diet, but like going to Mexico and going to, specifically Hawaii, it's like the culture has, oh, at one time they didn't eat processed food, but it's so part of the new age culture. And so when you say you're overcoming all of these, old habits of yours, I would love for you to talk to the person out there that is like, that's in that space right now. Like that, like, what are the actual steps you do now that you've lost the 30 pounds? Like you feeling really good in your body when you maybe crave that kind of stuff or you want to go out drinking. I mean, one thing real quick, we just went to Vegas for I don't know 4 days and not anybody drank alcohol, and so we all had like the best time of our lives without drinking, without processed foods, like without that. And so you're in a space where you can see people living this life. You're actually in it. So and I know you already mentioned like you pay to be in rooms with people who have the lifestyle that you want, but can you just talk to that person that's like just constantly going into those habits?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, number one, you have to like just kind of admit that it's there. You gotta like acknowledge that you have old programs that are not serving you anymore. And I think a lot of people don't even know how to have that conversation with themselves. They don't even know the language to use to describe that. And we have all this software that we're constantly updating in our personal lives, our phones, our computers, our cameras. But we never stop to think that, our brain needs updating too as new information appears and manifests into this reality. Like you're gonna have to change the way you think based on new information. And I think the majority of society, they think once they go to high school and they graduate, it's done. Like, I just need to learn my job and then I'm done. And if you're happy doing that, I'm not here to judge you and tell you that you're stupid or that you're doing it wrong. Cool, cool. Kudos to you. But if you want to live a more fulfilling lifestyle or fulfilling life, if you want more, if you feel stuck, if you're frustrated, if you're angry, then you need to look within yourself and you need to just be like, what am I doing that's not working? And how do I change that? I think that's the first thing that people need to do. And it's very uncomfortable for people, a lot of people to do that. For me, as I've exercised that muscle, which what I've learned is that it gets easier and easier, and you can actually pivot from things that are not working faster. And the thing is, success loves speed. So the faster you can understand yourself and the faster you can recognize what's working and what's not working, then the faster you can pivot to the next thing. And then again, it's like a scientific trial process of trial and error. And then you try the new thing that you think is going to work for you. And then if it doesn't work out, you analyze that and then you pivot to the next thing. And as you do that, which is what I was doing with the Amazon, with the working in restaurants, with the sales, I was pivoting to things. And every time I would fail at that thing, fail. I use that like sarcastically, just for the record. I wasn't failing. I was learning about myself. I was learning about what I wanted. I was learning about what I didn't want. And so don't beat yourself up if you do fail. You learn. That's exactly what you're doing. You're just learning a little bit more information about yourself, a little bit more, and you're chipping away, chipping away. And eventually you're going to understand who you are because you've made all these little micro decisions that it's going to give you like the 30,000 foot clarity view of who you are and where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses lie. My weaknesses are definitely, my old habits from growing up in Hawaii. I have to overcome that. And what has helped me overcome that is I've always thought I knew about nutrition, but I feel like I really understand nutrition specifically to me now. And for me personally, it's just I get those cravings for sugar. I get those cravings for like carbs. And I'm talking about like empty carbs when I say carbs. And what has worked for me is just consuming more protein. So if I hit my macros and my protein, which is I'm always shooting for a 1 gram of protein per day or 1 gram per body weight. So I'm 200 pounds roughly. So roughly 200 pounds of protein, then I feel I can operate at a high level. I feel good. I feel clear. The thing I'm judging it by is mental clarity. And I feel mentally clear when I eat that way. So that's really helped me overcome all those addictions. The alcohol thing is actually the easiest thing for me to quit. I don't crave it. I don't miss it. I can sit at a bar with people and it's not a big deal. It's mainly just the late night eating. Another thing that's huge that I had to learn through this 75 hard process is if you eat really late at night, I usually wake up really tired the next day. And that's because your body has to digest all that food while you're sleeping. So while it's digesting all that food, your body's not repairing itself. And so if I was doing 75 hard, you're doing 2 a days, your body's really tired. And if it's digesting food all night while you're sleeping, number one, you're not getting a deep REM sleep. Number two, your body's not repairing itself. So then you feel really worn out the next day. So I would say eating dinner like around 7 or 8 at the latest, and then waiting 3 hours before you go to bed and consuming enough protein to get rid of all the bad cravings has really changed my life.
You just summed up like years of primal health coaching for me in about 20 minutes. Yeah. Or less. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Circadian rhythm management's a huge thing. And a lot of people find massive amounts of success. That's probably the simplest way you can boil it down. I appreciate how succinct it was. It's more protein and your carb craving will usually go away. Your body is usually missing some serious micronutrients, and the default craving is for carbs because they're the easy energy. And sleep is huge, especially if you're beating the crap out of your body. I can't do 2 workouts a day because my nervous system is so touchy, but I also tend to go a little too hard when I do my workouts. So 2 a day is a lot. I would need probably like 9 to 10 hours of sleep if I was hitting myself that hard.
Well, see, this is another lesson is what I've learned too, is you don't have to, it's not necessarily the intensity of it. You can do 2 a days and I just been going for walks.
Yeah.
I stopped running because, I learned that walking is enough. Like I'm going to increase the intensity a little bit with the weight vest, but like if you just walk, as one of your workouts, like I listen to a podcast. That's where I'm consuming most of my podcast now, which is awesome. And I'm still getting the results. I'm still like, and my body's still changing, like just from walking. And before I was like that. I was like, I had to hit the gym super hard and I got to run. I'm going to do this, but it's not sustainable. The game again is to play forever. And if you're just wrecking your body every day, you're not going to be able to play forever. You're going to burn out. And that's another thing I've learned on this recent journey about myself is it's not necessarily the intensity. Most 90% of people would start winning immediately in their lives if they were just consistent. And that's what's ringing true for me. And that's what's happening in my life. I'm for the first time being truly consistent. I'm not talking about like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, like forever is what I'm shooting for. So that's been a huge shift for me because I would do spurts, like I'll do this really well. And then I'll just go back to my old habits and it won't happen again, like that mentality. Whereas people, if you just change your habits permanently and you play the long game forever, then yeah, I guess that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the health and the marriage and the business. But honestly, I think the water has really unlocked some stuff for me. And I'm one of the people that actually said yes for the business and not for the water. And I actually had my machine sitting in my house for like 2 weeks before I even hooked it up. And when I first got back from Bali, it was waiting for me. I ordered it, whatever, went on enjoyed my trip in Bali. And when I got back, I didn't even hook up the machine right away because I was like, it's water. I'll get to it when I get to it. And I was super jet lagged and it was like a weekend and I couldn't shake my jet lag. I was like, man, I have this water machine. Let's see what the hype's all about. So I hooked it up and I started drinking the water and I was I'm a water drinker. That's one thing that I'm good at. I've always been is just a water drinker. I don't drink juices and sodas and things, but I just started drinking the water. Sorry, we're going on a tangent. But like immediately my body just felt like alert and humming and different. And I was like, whoa. And then I started to get detoxing effects. I was in the bathroom a lot, not number one. And I was like, water doesn't do that normally. This is different. So this water is unique. This water is special because I am detoxing from water, and that's never happened. And I know that because I've been drinking water my whole life. So that's what really, really sealed the deal for me with what we're doing and what we're creating. So yeah.
I just want to mention that Garret said something about 18 months ago. It was right around the time that Jordana joined, and you said confidence comes when you do what you say you're going to do. And I don't know where you got that, but I wrote it in a journal. I kind of just have this little piece of paper floating around for almost 2 years now. And it's something that you said, and I really do believe what I've witnessed with you, and I've witnessed with so many other people within our organization, within our greater, global network, is like when people actually do what they say, right? We have a mentor. You've probably heard us mention him on past podcasts, Balaj, but he talks about, being able to say, like he used to say on his social media, I'm going to have a global network. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make millions of dollars. And there was crickets. Nobody watched him. He was, like people didn't believe in him. Like a lot of the people were just like, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. Like you come from immigrant parents, like all these, reasons why not. But, he says it. And this is something that you say a lot. You're saying what you're going to do. You're putting it out there. And then you show it. You're like, well, I'm actually doing this with my time. So a few of the things that I've heard you mention is like, relationships are really important, but time is like super valuable to you, like what you do and who manages that. Right. And so can you just, share how different this opportunity specifically is than all these other things that you've ever tried or seen, because you've not only been like educating yourself on, Amazon drop shipping and all of that, but you've like done a ton of research into what industries are out there and how people are making money, and you've dabbled in lots of different things. But how can you just share like what the real time benefit, because this is I'm going into my 4th year in, and I'm seeing the compound. So like the physical of the money is compounding, but the time, like I'm literally like, I get my time. Like I'm literally living my dream life. Yes, there's so much more to create and give and serve, but like the three of us sitting here, like we totally dictate our time. We've hacked that and we're making money passively doing what we love. So like that's the real juice here, because before this we were doing whatever we wanted, right? Like it's you're 6 hours behind, so you're just waking up. But like, I'm cleaning the tiny home in the garden, like playing with my toddler, like and no one's dictating my time. Like, can you just tell people what that feels like coming from a serving background, coming from a place, yes, you had your days, but every night and every holiday you didn't have. You got to watch other people enjoy. And now you're on the other side of that. Can you just share like what that feels like to have your time in your own control?
It's a game changer. It's the most gratifying feeling I don't have kids, but I'm like that's how I feel about time. I'm so passionate about this topic because no one ever talked about this growing up. My whole life I was taught to get good grades, go to college, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, and do the things. And no one even said the word that time is a valuable resource. No one told me that your time is your most precious resource. And I think that's part of that is the era that we're in. Obviously, we have more options with the internet. Obviously, like I said, I was raised by a single mom who just got kicked out when she was out of her home in high school, when she was in high school. So she just always had that state of survival of always trying to survive. And so for her, that was what she knew. So that's what she passed down to me. And I did all those things and I was miserable. I was so miserable. And I felt like it was an inauthentic way to live on a subconscious level. I just knew that. And what was really triggering for me was when I was working at that restaurant and I was serving dinner on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I saw the interactions of the families. And it just made me, it did the Godfather thing, but it did it in reverse. I started to look at myself and like see these kids with their mom and dad and the laughter and the conversations, they just seem so relaxed. They seem so at peace. There was no anxiety. And I was like, wow, what if I have a family, but I'm still working here? How am I going to have that? How am I going to experience that? And that was motivating to me. And I also recognized the difference in the family dynamics from the people that were having dinner at fancy restaurants on Christmas Day compared to the family that was having dinner in the middle of summer when everybody else was having dinner, when it was more common for people to have dinner. The dynamic of the family was way different. The kids at Christmas Eve dinner were ordering steak and lobsters medium rare and like ordering their own food and having conversations at the table with the adults. The summer family was stressed out about money, about decisions. They weren't talking to each other. They were on the iPad or whatever. And I just saw that dynamic like every single day. I was like seeing real time feedback. It wasn't like something I was reading about. I was seeing it with my own eyes. And so I was like, okay, how can I create that? Because I do not want to be serving dinner on Christmas. How can I value my time more? And I forgot what your original question was, but time is just, it's the most valuable thing that we have. And I was listening to a podcast recently and he said, we all pay for things. We either pay with our time or with our money, and you decide and you usually spend the thing that you value the least. And for a lot of people, what they do is they spend their time because they don't value it. But what the wealthy and the rich people do is they spend their money to speed up the time because they value their time more. So we can just take a lesson from the people who are successful. And I'm judging success by that they own their time, not necessarily about the money, but that they honor and own their time. That's how I judge successful people. And getting around people, I think I've already on a subconscious level, I know I've said this multiple times on this podcast, but I just always have I've always been good about looking at the person above me in whatever job I was in and asking myself, do I want to be that person? And up until I found this opportunity, I never said, yes, I want to be that person. I was always like, nope, I do not want to be that person. So if you can do that in your own personal life, if you're in a job or, look at the person above you and ask yourself, do you want their lifestyle? Do they look happy? Are they healthy? Are they fulfilled? Do they seem like they're living their best life? Like, or are they always stressed out? Are they always angry? Are they frustrated a lot? Why would you want to mimic that? The people inside of this business that are above us, they're living the life I want to live. And that to me is like, you can't fake that. That's there, that's real-time feedback. I want to live like that guy. You know, our mentor was here on Maui back in May, and he was staying at the Montage, which is probably the most expensive hotel on Maui. And he extended his trip for a whole nother week. And that's like $15,000 right there. And he didn't even blink an eye. He just did it because he was having a good time with his family. That's what I want to do. I want to travel the world. And if my family wants to stay in Fiji for an extra month because we're having a good time, I want to be able to pull the trigger and not stress about it. You know, that's what I'm building. That's exactly what I'm building. And I got that inspiration from being in bigger rooms with people who do not take the advice from people that don't have the results that they have. Like a lot of us are still putting our parents on a pedestal and taking advice from them, and they're most likely not where you want to be. So stop doing that. Even though you love them, stop listening to them.
Yeah, that hits home. I had when I was commercially farming, I ran into that where I would just see the farm managers, and I was like, is this really what I want to do? Because their phones are blowing up, handling like client orders, dealing with restaurants, having to worry about literally just stressed out the entire time. Like you don't really get to sleep. It's, you think it's a beautiful job, and it is a beautiful job and responsibility and privilege to be able to grow food, but it's still a business. And same thing with brick and mortars. My girlfriend's manager, it's like a very bougie fitness boutique studio, but just answering media all the time. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I want to be able to like put my phone away for a couple days. And I did that 3 days ago. I put my phone away for a couple days and just went out on a lake and enjoyed it for a couple days. But yeah, that is a great practice, because usually if you're paying attention, you'll be able to see or feel the stress levels from the people ahead of you. Oh yeah, super easy. So that's a good lead into how did you craft the Saltwater SEO, and your the tagline right below that says volume negates luck. Could you let us know about your business
Yeah,
avatar
for
and how
sure.
you
It's
became it?
funny, man. I'm getting some serious feedback on the Saltwater CEO. So, I literally used ChatGPT. I typed in all the pain points that I was looking to solve, the people I was trying to attract. I just described it. I was like, I'm looking to create a movement. And I just went of men and women, blah, 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 blah. And I just listed all the things why I started this business. And I was like, give me 5 names that resonate with this. And then it did. It listed 5 names. And I was like, give me 5 more. And it listed 5 more. And I said, give me 5 more. And then give me 5 more. And then I picked the ones that I liked. First of all, not only did it give me the names, but it gave me the why it named it that way and all the pain points that it like correlated back to. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And it literally articulated what I was feeling, because I'm really good at like thinking it in my head, but like I struggle with the articulation part. So this was really useful for me. If you're a great writer, kudos to you, mad respect. I'm still developing that skill, but that's how I found it. I then took I think I took the top 5 and I threw it on my social media and asked people to vote on which one they liked. And this is the one that everyone picked. And I was like, cool. And then I realized later on that my whole life I've been wanting to be a saltwater CEO. I used to say that when I was 18 that I wanted to own my own business, but I just lost that dream because I didn't know what business, how to do business. I wasn't around anybody doing business except for my brother, who's like my second mom's son, not really my blood brother, but I consider him my brother. He was an architect, he was self-employed, but his field was so specialized that I could never learn how to do what he was doing. So I just kind of forgot about that dream. And then later on in life, it remanifested itself because it was there in the beginning when I was younger, and it came back. And I used to be really infatuated with Laird Hamilton, who used to live here on Maui. He used to live in the same town as me. And I used to just see him around town, and I would watch his videos, like all the things that we do now that are common. He was like the first one to start like making videos, going on his own path. Like the surf community hated him because he didn't play by their rules. He was doing his own thing. He was riding different boards. He was traveling the world. He was his own boss. catchphrases that we use, he was just doing it. And he was documenting the journey. And I just was like, man, I want to do that. And I forgot about that. And now here we are, 20 years later, and now I'm the Saltwater CEO. And one day I was like thinking, I was like, holy shit, that was Laird Hamilton. Laird Hamilton is the original Saltwater CEO. This is exactly what he was doing. He's about fitness, discipline, overcoming your fears, doing like uncomfortable things, like charging waves that no one had ever surfed before. He's pioneered so many different things in just the sport of surfing, but also in the sport of business. He was the first one to have his own clothing line. Now everybody has their own clothing line. Kelly Slater has a clothing line after him. He lives part-time in Malibu. He lives part-time in Kauai. I want to live part-time in Hawaii, part-time in Indonesia. Like, I'm mimicking him on and I didn't realize that I'm mimicking him, but like that's kind of where it came from. And it feels really good in alignment. Volume negates luck is an Alex Hormozi quote where he talks about 10,000 things, or I'm sorry, he talks about 100. If you want to break free of whatever situation you're in, you need to do 100 things a day for 100 days. So whether that means 100 hours of content or 100 pieces of content, 100 days in a row, 100 cold calls for 100 days in a row, $100 worth of ad spend for 100 days straight. That's how you create the momentum that you need in your life. Everyone's waiting around for the lottery ticket. This is how you don't wait around for the lottery ticket. You just you amplify with volume, and then you negate the luck because you're just naturally going to find the right connection, the right person. You're naturally going to have the success that you want just because you did so much more volume than most people are willing to do. Most people will try a little bit, they won't have success, and they'll be like, oh, it doesn't work. Facebook ads doesn't work for me because I spent $4,000. That was me last year, by the way. I spent close to $5,000. Didn't work for me. But that's not $10,000. I still got room to grow. I still got, levels to hit. So a lot of times you just got to persevere, and the volume negates luck just is a reminder for me to just keep going, keep creating, and keep adding more volume. So amplify your message. And that's kind of part of why I'm here is this. I want to amplify my message. I want to reach more people, and I want to help you guys and see you guys succeed. And I love everything the momentum that we're creating inside our community, which is Evolutionary for those of you that do not know. It's something that we started a few years ago, and it's starting to take on a life of its own, which is really cool to see.
And what the cool part is I get so many ads. YouTube specifically, I get targeted because entrepreneurs and coaches always get targeted with how to leverage and further scale your coaching message, and all of them bash volume. They're just like, this definitely doesn't work. You want to do that. And I was like, because you always have to do the hard work in whatever industry you're in. So the ads are basically trying to let you skip that. And I'm sure there are high ticket coaching programs, right? You're paying to accelerate time. But it's always interesting when you get the ads where people are like, definitely don't put out 100 things of content, don't spend hours grinding. And then you see the people like Tom Bilyeu or Alex Hormozi, very successful people, and they're just like, you have to put out volumes and keep doing it when you hate it. And the trick is to keep doing it whenever it's mundane and you really don't want to. And so all the successful people are like, no, it's still volume and consistency. And all the ads are like, it's definitely not volume. It's just such a weird dichotomy.
Totally. It's so funny you say that. Yeah. I mean, he talks about that. He did his podcast for 5 years before it took off. I mean, he was out there filming just like we are now, doing the work before he got famous. I mean, there is no secret. That's the thing. There's no secret bullet. Everyone wants like the hack, the secret bullet. No, it's like 1,000 little BBs, little micro decisions over an extended period of time. It really is that simple. Like, it's not sexy. It's not supposed to be sexy. All the wealth building billionaires, they don't do sexy things. They just do the same thing. That they find the lever that works best for them, and they just keep pulling on it for decades. That's all they do.
And I think the thing it builds is luck. I'll take luck any day of the week for sure. But when you do get lucky, if you did the work, then your message will be authentic, and you will have those 10,000 hours under you. So you'll be able to receive and have your message actually resonate, because you'll have that. We were talking about sort of building your self-image, And I think it was Chris Williamson and Alex Hormozy had a good chat, and it was how to get around imposter syndrome. And it was just like, build a mountain of evidence that you can look at to convince yourself that you are who you say you are. And that's the only way around it, is to have a mountain of evidence to support your claim that you are who you say you are.
That's such a good reminder. And I think part of the motivation for me wanting to do 75 hard and getting my body right is I just want to be in that convicted position, like you just described, of like a body of evidence of I am who I say I am. And you do need to listen to me, because I have the same knowledge that I had, when I first started this business. I still had the same experiences, but in my core of who I felt a conflict of, I can't talk about health because I myself am not healthy. So how can I talk about health? And I felt that on the inside. So I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to design my life so that there's no chinks in the armor, and I can speak from a place of results and conviction. And if people make their comments, and they're naturally going to in the online space, you're naturally going to get haters. I expect that. But if you're built in a way that you've done the work, then it becomes easier and easier for you to show up. And that's what I love about this business model, is it encourages you to become the best version of yourself. Because if you do that, if you do the hard work of becoming the best version of yourself, then you're free. Like, no job promises you freedom, just so you guys know. And I'm not saying that this is easy. It is not easy. This business that we do takes work. It's not a get rich lottery ticket. You still got to show up. You're just going to have a different kind of show up, a different kind of hard, mostly between your ears. That's going to be the biggest part, because we have these beliefs and then we have the opportunity, right? Most of us have a job and then we have our beliefs. But really what you need to fix first is you need to fix your beliefs and destroy the ones that are not serving you anymore. And then you need to go find an opportunity that actually gives you leverage. And not enough people are talking about that. Alex Hormozy is the first person to talk about leverage the way I think about leverage. I have not heard anyone talk about leverage the way he talks about it. And he does a way, to his credit, he has way more results than me by far. I'm not saying I'm on his level, but he articulates how I think about leverage in a perfect synchronicity that I appreciate. I think that's why I gravitate towards his content, because no one talks about leverage. Like, I want to go back to high school and teach a course about leverage, because everyone seems to think that leverage is a bad word. It's because they're all gambling. This is not gambling. This is investing in yourself, which is a whole different type of leverage.
Yeah, well, but you answered a question I was going to ask, which was, if you could go back to high school and tell yourself something, what would it be? Yeah. So
Yeah,
leverage.
definitely.
Yeah.
Leverage. You need to find leverage. You need to find other people. You need to find a way to have other people's effort, time, and energy be funneled into whatever it is you're creating in your own personal life, because that's the only way you're going to break free from society and the social programs that we've been bombarded with since we were little kids, and our parents have been bombarded with since they were little kids. You're going to have courage. I would say that what I would tell myself, if I was in high school, is be courageous, trust your instincts. Obviously, everyone knows that. And then find high leverage opportunities, and don't look for jobs, look for opportunities. Those are the biggest lessons I think I've learned, is if you look for jobs, then you're just looking for something to fulfill a need in that moment. But if you look for opportunities, now you're thinking long term, and you're thinking differently than everybody else. And I think I've always been different, and I always looked at it as a negative. And as I've gotten older and wiser, I am enjoying being different. I am enjoying thinking different, speaking different, sounding different. And I do not want what everybody else has. Like, if you look at the mass population, everyone's just in a constant state of stress and anxiety and fear, and they're watching the TV and they're like letting it dictate their lives. And I can just unplug from that. I can tune into our community, or I can tune into our circle of friends, and we can have these conversations in private and not feel that same level of stress and anxiety and fear, because we have a different belief system that we've had to create. It didn't happen organically. We had to create that through hard work and dedication and doing the work. I've been frustrated. I've felt like quitting. I felt overwhelmed thinking like, how am I going to hit that rank? How am I going to do this? Like when I started this business, I wasn't on social media, but I learned that leverage is key and social media is a tool. And just because something is created for a specific use, it doesn't mean you can't use it in a different way, in a more powerful way, in a way that actually enhances your life and also helps other people. It's not about just taking, taking, taking. It's actually more about giving a lot more than I realized.
This has been such a great podcast. Everything that you just said, I mean, it's next level, and putting yourself in this space where, people are actually doing the same thing. You're not actually, seeing such a contrast. You're actually feeling like, wow, I have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
That's something that is really underestimated, specifically in our industry and our company, because there are so many affiliate marketing companies in the world that have these massive networks, and they've reached their pinnacles of success, whereas our company is your entire story can be culminated in Oshiro's journey, the owner of our company, his fight to just continue consistently showing up year after year after year through all the adversity. And then just being a Japanese company that's coming into all these different other countries that do things differently, that, in Japan, people actually care about their health. They prioritize preventative disease. They look at disease and they're like, okay, well, let's prevent it. Whereas the US is complete opposite. We're always depending on the healthcare system and the pharmaceutical complex to heal all of these things. Whereas, so much of what you just talked about and everything, your whole story is about slowly peeling back the layers, but also taking back that control, taking back that power, and just being I actually now want to create my own water. I actually now get to create a tool that helps me with jet lag or hangovers or feeling like crap from the gym. It's a restore tool as well. And the business is something that called you in, but then the community is what you got. And you get to sit here and really all of the things that you've learned, you get to flip around and then teach. And this is what you're doing here today. Everybody that's listening is seeing him in his power, standing as a leader, as a coach, as a mentor, someone let's do this. Let's lock arms and do this. But again, you have to show up, you have to take the action. You actually have to move through those steps that we all are moving through. But again, it's taking back the power, and that's fulfilling in every aspect of itself, because you see the rest of the world just giving away their power, giving away their time, and giving away their money, their resources. They work so hard for this material, but then they give it away on things that are treating their body like a waste bin. And we see it over and over and over. You see it in the restaurant industry. You see it just going to the grocery store. I think one of your posts was I silently judge people's grocery carts. And it's we don't do it out of I'm judging you because I'm better than you, but it's dude, wake up. None of that is food in your cart. And so what we're doing, what we're sharing with you is we're just saying all these other things that all of us have tried, they might be good and they might get you to a certain level, but this specific opportunity with this specific product and our community is really what is the secret. It, we said, there's no secret, but really it's having all of these things in one place, that people are willing to just have you sit down at a table of people who've worked, because you've put in the time. Yeah, your success isn't exactly where you want to be, but you hit 6A. That's a huge success within our business. And the people getting to meet Joanna, at this event, somebody that Garret brought into our community, wow, like these are the people that you're calling in, they're next level, they're doing next level things. And I'm just so grateful. Is there anything else you want to share? And then also, where can people find you? You know,
For sure. I would say just on what you just were talking about, like the community is an asset just like real estate. Like I never even thought like you could put a value to something like that. But like when I was first trying new things, you know how when you first try new things and you're like super excited to tell your friends and tell your family and like you go and you tell them and then it's like look at you like, yeah, dude, that's a scam. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay, buddy, go get it. Like these are the things that I would get thrown back in my face. And if that's you and you're trying new things and you're like excited to share, I would say be careful who you share it with because if they're on the hamster wheel, there's a good chance they're just not going to understand. It's going to go over their head. And why this community is valuable is you got to get around people that are doing what you want to do. You got to get around sounding boards of people that are doing uncomfortable things so that they can have a comfortable life later on. And it took me a long time to learn that, the value of that. To not, I've known that, but like to understand the true value of having that energy, of being around people who are building things and not just consuming. Like we live in a consume society, a consumer society. We consume, we consume, we consume. If you just stop consuming and start creating, man, your life is going to change fast. It's going to feel more in alignment. You're going to have less stress, less anxiety. You're going to feel more fulfilled in your daily life. At least that's what's worked and happened to me. And how you learn if you're not. I always told myself I wasn't artsy or creative, and I've since learned that that is a lie. That I have lots of creativity in my brain and that I can create. I never used social media before this. I'm still a novice, relatively speaking, in creating content. But I'm enjoying learning the process and learning from other people who have been using social media for a long time, who have been creating videos and edits. Like down the road, I'm definitely going to have a YouTube channel that just documents my life, just documents their journey so that one day when I have kids, they can see what dad used to look like when he was younger. You know, like I'm definitely going to do that. And that's definitely going to help build my business and my brand. Um, with Saltwater CEO and Evolutionary, like it's all, I'm going to get paid to document my life. Think about that. We are going to get paid to document our life. Alex is going to get paid. Ashley's going to get paid. And it's not going to be 30 getting paid. It's going to be, I changed somebody's life getting paid. Like that's a whole different dynamic. You know, serving dinner is cool. Having someone, helping someone quit their job or retire their spouse, that's way cooler to me. That's way more fulfilling. That's way more worth doing what I'm doing, the uncomfortable work of showing up every single day, saying no to going to the beach, saying no to hanging out with friends. I just say no right now. I'm in a season of grind and I'm just focused on building this. And then not only just building it for myself, but being able to, like you said, Ashley, like take it and then turn it around and show someone else how to build it so that they can duplicate what I did, because that's what, no, like I got lessons from different people, but I want, if I can just help someone from the ground up, like from A to Z, like that would be incredibly fulfilling to me. So, as far as where people can find me, I'm the most active on Instagram, at Garret Feliciano. So if you are on there, come find me, come say hi. I love meeting new people and seeing people from all over the world. Actually, that was part of my vision, by the way, having family and friends that I could stay with all over the world and vice versa. So it is happening with this community, and I'm super pumped to know you, to get to know both you, Ashley and Alex. The past couple of years has been really awesome, and I'm sorry I didn't make it to Vegas. I'm just super hyper focused right now on solving the problems at hand, and I really enjoyed watching everyone's reels and seeing the stoke on everyone's face. It was super cool to see. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here, Garret. It was a pleasure.
yes, it was, your energy was felt there, and, you know, getting to meet you in San Diego and see you and Damien just like there and holding that space, because our community is really special in that way, is that we do have the masculine and the feminine, and we do have the structure and the drive and someone going out pioneering the technical space where we're all trying to organically do it. You're like, no, let's use AI, let's use technology as a tool. And so we appreciate you really just pushing that for all of us and make it uncomfortable, because that is like, you are the person in our community that probably makes me grow the most in terms of like, I'm like, he's doing that. Geez, I got to learn that. You know, he's doing that. Oh, I got to learn that. But then you're like there to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Where in the world do you have that? There's never in a time in my corporate career where I had some, like, I could just sit at the table with people who had a life that I want, that I could just ask questions to. It was usually just like, get in line, you fill out this form. It wasn't like, hey, like, I can DM you and actually talk to you. And so, what I want to really share is like, this man is a total transformation of what is possible, and that his leadership and his skills and what he is able to teach is really incredible. And it's really a testament about the time and energy and money that he's poured into his life, and all of the, again, mindset things. Like you said, the challenge, the journey is between your two ears. Everything that he pours in between those 2 ears is actually getting him to where he wants to be. So thank you so much, Garret. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Alex, for doing all that you do. I really appreciate the both of you. Really big pillars within our community. Thank you.
Much love, guys.